2020 Scotiabank Concacaf Champions League is getting set to cut the field in half this week. Second leg around of 16 right around the corner. Welcome into the Concacaf studios for the SCCL show, available every single Monday and Friday, 5 o'clock Eastern time on all Concacaf digital platforms. I'm Tyler Terrence. That's Devin Kerr. We're jacked up. I had way too much coffee today, but I'm also just excited for these leg twos because leg one, I mean, if they're going to let us down, they're going to let us down hard this week, but I don't have a feeling that that's going to happen. No, absolutely not.
Fireworks
Absolutely
all over the place. You can invest now.
Yeah.
Invest now. Everything. Draws.
Bitcoin.
Alianza?
Yeah.
What's going on there?
No idea.
No, wait,
Tuca Ferretti's in trouble.
Stay off the futures market.
Yeah. Well, we're going to preview every single match within the week. Of course, we have 8 matches. We got 16 teams left. We're going to cut them down to 8 by the end of the week. And we're going to start, as always, on our right-hand side of the bracket. At the top of the bracket is where we are going to start. And it's going to head back to Estado Universitario. But I'll tell you what, Tuca Ferretti, we have a problem. Because Alianza was able to get it done. They win 2-1. They come back. They score 2 unanswered goals. You look at last year's Tigres team that got to the final, ended up falling to the eventual champions in Monterrey. They thrashed Saprissa in the second leg after losing the first leg 1-0. They go on to win the second leg 5-1. But after watching Tigres, you can't keep doing this and expect something bad not to happen in the second leg.
It got worse over the weekend as well. They lost to Cruz Azul. They lost to Cruz Azul 2-1. So back-to-back performances by Tuca Ferretti's boys that were just not that impressive. And what was interesting about it was they did create. It wasn't overwhelming. They weren't blown off the pitch, but Alianza just did enough to stay in there. Quinones did get the start of the weekend. I'm going to be curious to see how they handle his workload, considering they bring him on as a sub. They run him a full 90. Do you ask him then just a few days later to go again? I'm not sure they go that way.
How concerning is it that you play Gignac in the round of 16, which I don't think anybody at home expected, including us, and then you still go out and have that kind of performance, and he missed a boatload of sitters?
Sit him, right? Let's sit him. Go back to 2019. Every time they sat him, they got a result. I'm not overly concerned because they did create. There were a lot of scoring opportunities and things that kind of Tyler just mentioned, stuff right inside the 6-8 yards out, and he was missing poorly, but the opportunities were there. I would be more concerned if they weren't creating in the final third, if Alianza maybe had a little bit more ball control. Tigres was on the ball a lot. They were going side to side. They were being effective in the final third, but again, you can't put the ball in the back of the net. Goals win games. Tale as old as time. And now you just kind of wonder what sort of changes are made because of the movements you used over the weekend. Again, Quinones getting the full 90. I still look at Valencia up top. That was the big one with Whittingham. Who's going to be that partner? Didn't see that out of him. We saw a lot of Gignac and saw a lot of the other boys getting up high, but no one really pushed the threshold. I'm still waiting for that person to poke their head out and help.
Well, who's going to be taking on Tigres or Alianza is the winner of NYCFC and San Carlos. Of course, this game is to where it's going to be played is under much controversy, but have to be excited for an NYCFC fan. 5 goals, you get a hat trick forever. It's the first hat trick from a player on an MLS side in the modern format of Scotiabank Concacaf Champions League. Things are looking up.
Remember that for all MLS teams, yes, they're in preseason and everything, they've got the luxury of not worrying about a domestic fixture over the weekend. So you need to utilize that to your full advantage. Get going. 35-5-15 at home. This is over. NYCFC moves on.
Meanwhile, Seattle and Olympia should be a great one as well. The game started off beautifully for Seattle. João Paulo, the designated player, opens up his account and opens up his presence within Seattle. And then it started to get a little bit chippy, and slowly but surely, Olympia battled their way back into the game, eerily reminiscent of Montreal and Saprissa.
Second half, super ugly for the Sounders, and that's a difficult one. You're kind of coasting through a game, think, okay, great, here we go. More so, Olympia sped it up over the weekend. Beautiful. Benguche, everybody else back on the scorecard. This is going to be troublesome the second leg.
Well, everybody was high on Club Leon and LAFC from a competitive standpoint, but this was another fixture that was circled on everybody's list. Again, 2 goals in the first 25 minutes for Montreal Impact. Great start for Thierry Henry. Hold the phone. Saprissa in front of the Purple Monster. Get it done in the second half. Goals in the 80th and 90th, 2-2, heading back.
I still say this is the best that I've seen a team so far opening 45 minutes. Montreal Impact. Find a way to replicate it, kind of like the wash, rinse, repeat type thing. Thierry Henry has a little bit of a problem in the middle of the field. They slowed things down. They chased a little bit. Sometimes you have to weather the storm in a game. That's okay. But you can't chase like the way they did, and I think it's going to be effective.
Out of those 4 matchups, we obviously know who the pot 1 teams are, the favorites. Who are you most concerned about?
I'm concerned about Montreal Impact.
Okay.
I think Saprissa goes through still.
I mean, you have that in your bracket. I would hope that you're sticking to that.
No, it's not even that. It's the way that they did it in the second half. That second half wasn't even competitive.
Yeah.
They were all over the field, and it wasn't good. They were chasing left, right. Angulo, Barantes, all those boys, like whether you were starting or not, and they rotated some pieces over the weekend too.
Yeah.
Angulo came off the bench. They've got so much talent, and I'm most concerned about that.
Well, the good news is that we're going to hear from one of the midfielders who is on the pitch for Montreal, Amar Sejdic, later on in the show. And that's going to take us to our break. When we come back, we're going to not only highlight the other side of the bracket and the matches coming up in the second week in the leg 2 of the round of 16, but also Devin Kerr has his own best 11 of the first leg of the round of 16. Stick around to find out what it is.
I went from maybe I can to I know I will. From isn't she cute to fight. Coaches who seem stuck on we can now say we did. From women's football to every 90 minutes, I'm reminded we belong. I went from maybe I can to I know I will. From isn't she cute to fight. Coaches who seem stuck on we can now say we did. From women's football to every 90 minutes, I'm reminded we belong.
My friend over here sitting to my left, his name is Devin Kerr, my best friend, Devin Kerr, is very opinionated. And if he sees something that he doesn't like or he sees something that's being done the wrong way, he's going to give you exactly what he thinks should be the right way.
Politely.
Politely. Now, we love everybody at CONCACAF. They sign our checks, of course. However, the beautiful thing about the beautiful game is that we all have different opinions as to what we saw on the pitch. Devin, CONCACAF came out with their best 11 of week 1. Let's just say you politely disagree.
They got it wrong.
Okay.
It's easy enough. So let's show them what they did pick, right?
Yep.
All right, this is the best 11 selected by them. Blanco, Eber, Arboleda up top. I actually don't mind that. I think you pay them their fair due. I thought they did a good job. I'll even give you Ponce in the middle of the field. If we're going to stay in a 4-3-3, that's fine. For a team like Club America, who didn't get bossed off the field but chased a lot, they were back and forth with Comunicaciones. Don't necessarily think that was enough. I'm getting rid of Cordova. I'm getting rid of Pitti. I don't think he belonged in there as well.
I don't think anybody from Atlanta belonged on there, with the exception of one player, but continue.
So when I ran through the entire 11, here's who I went with. I have Brad Guzan in goal. He was lights out. I've said it before. I'll say it again. He deserves to be the starting goalkeeper back there in the 11. I kept Gordillo. I went with Gonzalez Hernandez from Leon as my other center back. Thought he was great. The combination between the two. Gordillo, he deserved it. But I could have used both center backs from Leon as well. Chasing arguably 3 of the most talented players in that front line in all of this tournament, and especially MLS, out of LAFC. Shut them down, kept them quiet. Ivan Rodriguez, Luis Montes, they deserve to be in the middle of the field as well. They were obnoxiously amazing against LAFC.
Can I give one recommendation to the front 3? I don't mind it either. I just think that Romel Kyoto played better than Osvaldo Blanco.
So I don't mind that either.
Okay.
That was the thing is I couldn't. You can make the argument in a positive way for that. I don't mind the decision. I got to figure out what's going on at outside backs. I'm not exactly sure who picked any of those.
Elvire was player rating. I'd give him like a 5.5, 6.
Even though they gave up 3, I'll take Yuka Raitala. I'll take Nuhu at left back. That's easy for me. I thought
Nuhu was great.
I even give you 3. I'll give you Yassin Salinas from Saprissa.
Yep.
Tinnerholm on the other side of the ball. That's fine with me. And Giannis from Comunicaciones. 4 options that could have easily been
You
up
can
there.
give it to Tinnerholm even though they give up 3 goals?
Yeah, because they weren't his fault.
He's still part of the defense. It's a team game.
If 3 bad goals are given up by your back line, I'm probably not blaming the goalkeeper either.
Okay, that's fair enough.
That didn't happen, by the way, to the main man, Brad Zan.
What's the most egregious mistake on here? I know mine.
Yours is Omar Elvir.
No, it's actually who's in between the sticks and Clement Diop because
Yeah,
I do not think that I just don't think he had a good game.
I don't like the pick of Ryan Wellington at left back. With all due respect to them, I thought they did a good job shutting things down.
Had they won, maybe.
Yeah, but no, not even that because the kid on the left, James.
Yeah,
he's the one who opened the entire field up for Portmore United. Shawnee James. He is the reason that he had such a good game because he didn't have anything to do. James kept tracking back and locking things down. Great 2-way player. That and Cordova. I don't know how he makes his way into this and
scored a goal.
Maybe don't care.
That helps. I'm just saying I'm not disagreeing with you. Yeah. Okay, let's get into the left side of the bracket and let's preview some games that are going to be going on this week. All right, is that okay with you? Did you get it out of your system? Good enough.
Let's go.
All right, let's go.
Okay.
Let's go ahead. All right, Atlanta United, Motagua, Club America, Comunicaciones, Portmore United, Cruz Azul, LAFC, Club Leon. We will save the best for last, but Atlanta United and Motagua. I said to you that if Atlanta had been playing a Mexican team, this could have been a very, very different result for Atlanta. They find a way to get a 1-1 draw. Joseph Martinez apparently was playing with an illness. He gets his goal. Atlanta did not look great. They did not look good. Somewhere in the middle. Let's see what they can do over at Kennesaw at Fifth Third Bank Stadium.
I wish some of these pieces were coming back for them. Again, injury and visa issues. Frank DeVore not getting all the toys that they picked up in the offseason. And, my initial thought in my head was, can you go out of the 4-back and go back to the 3? You can't. No Miles Robinson. They stick with 4. They're going to get a victory, but it's going to have to be able to eke one out.
Out of the 3 players that were having visa issues, it's only going to be Jake Mulroney that's available. Meanwhile, Club America and Comunicaciones, we were sort of giving Comunicaciones a tough time being in this tournament. They get a 1-1 draw, but I don't have a feeling that they're going to be moving on to the quarterfinals.
Bad organization. Front 3 were good. Actually, some of the disconnect you saw to Club America was really similar to LAFC. Isolated situations where you saw individual groups, not necessarily a full unit moving forward. Herrera, though, they'll be ready. They'll be fine. They had a nice win over Monterey over the weekend.
Cruz Azul and Portmore United. This was a game that everybody had their eyes on because literally it was the first game of the tournament. It looked like Portmore were going to get it done. Cruz Azul, 2 goals in the last 9 minutes of stoppage time. Yes, I did say 9. Any hope?
Is this still going on? Is this game?
Yeah.
Pace. Pick it up. Run this team into the ground. Again, we mentioned Cruz Azul took down Tigres over the weekend. So they've got the game against Portmore, the comeback, the Tigres matchup, the win, and then they've got to go again. That's a difficult stretch.
The 32-52 has been waiting for this moment. International football. I don't know if Bank of California Stadium is going to be rocking harder than it will be rocking at the beginning of this game. If they score an early goal, you might as well book it because I think they'll carry the momentum. But if Leon are able to maybe absorb some of the punches, this could be a long night for LAFC at home.
Still don't understand why they went with Mark Anthony Kane when he didn't play at all in the preseason. Super talented. Got to find a way to get the boys in the middle on the ball more and knock off the players like Montes and Rodriguez that I mentioned because you cannot give them that much time. They just shredded them to pieces.
Any predictions for the second leg of that one?
I'm probably going to go like 1-0 LAFC. I don't think they have enough to get it done.
So they make it interesting, they don't get it done.
I think they have enough to get it done. Can they do it? Absolutely. 2-0.
Yeah. And that was a goal they gave up in the 89th minute.
And it was 2-0 where they didn't look good at any portion of the game.
Yeah.
A lot goes on, though.
But
9 days.
1 week under your belt, you get some rest, you get that little bit of match fitness. They could look
9
like a
days is
completely
lot.
different team.
Look, NYCFC gets 6 days. LAFC gets 9. That's a big difference in time frame, whether it's regen, breakdown sessions. There's a lot that goes on in there. Can they do it? Absolutely. Look, I have them in my bracket going through.
Yeah.
If I'm basing it upon what I saw in the first game, I'm out.
All right, you're out, we're out, we're going to the next segment, and the next segment is a doozy because we got Amar Sejdic, who really didn't even make any appearances for Montreal Impact last season. He gets thrown into the Scotiabank Concacaf Champions League in one of the most hostile environments. He's going to talk about the Montreal Impact, what they need to do to get it done heading into the quarterfinals in the next round. Stick around.
I went from maybe I can to I know I will. From isn't she cute to fight. Coaches who seem stuck on we can now say we did. From women's football to every 90 minutes, I'm reminded we belong. went from maybe I can to I know I will. From isn't she cute to fight. Coaches who seem stuck on we can now say we did. From women's football to every 90 minutes, I'm reminded we belong.
Welcome back into the SCCL show. We told you we had a special guest, and we have none other than midfielder for Montreal Impact in Amar Sejdic, who's joining us now on the SCCL show in the Concacaf studios on the phone. Amar, how you doing today, pal? Well, it seems like we're having some technical difficulties getting Amar on the phone at the moment, but obviously Montreal Impact. Amar, can you hear us, buddy?
Yes, I hear you guys. You guys hear me?
Yes, we got you, pal. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pleasure.
All right, so first off, obviously, first game of the calendar year, first competitive match. How the legs feeling right now? How the boys feeling?
It's great. It's great. We had a long preseason. We started early after the new year. All the guys were buzzing, excited under a new staff, and I think coming away from Costa Rica with a 2-2 draw is something we're happy with, and we're happy to be home come Wednesday night.
Amar, I got a personal one for you right now before we dive into the team stuff with Devin. You really didn't get a ton of playing time last year at Montreal Impact. You got loaned to second division side in Ottawa Fury. 2020, a little bit of a different story for you. You get thrown into the fire, baptism by fire. You get thrown into one of the most difficult environments to play in within CONCACAF and the Purple Monster. How was it just being out there?
Oh, it was incredible. I felt right at home. I mean, from the beginning of 2020, I set some goals for myself, both personally and things I want to achieve with the team. But no, the coaches have been great with me, and they've really put their trust in me, their confidence, and they let me flourish. They let me play the game that I like to play. And I mean, it felt really incredible to be out there. Last year was definitely like a transitional thing for me. A couple new coaches, got to get my feet on the ground. But then 2020, I set some goals for myself, wanted some more responsibility for results on the field, and it's off to a decent start. But we got a long year ahead of us.
Amar, take me back to last Wednesday for a second here. Opening 45 minutes, you guys were flying all over the pitch. I've been very vocal saying that I think it's the best, those 45 minutes, the best we've seen out of an MLS team. Up 2-0 first 22 minutes. What's the conversation like with Thierry Henry, your manager, at halftime?
The conversation is, I mean, we're 2-0 away. So, I mean, for those who know, 2-0 is a very dangerous scoreline, especially going into halftime. So things can change very quickly. Momentum can change. So the discussion was that we got to leave here with the best result possible. We got to stick together, and we're going to have to defend, because we knew that they were going to come out and be hungry. So we just kind of had to lock ourselves in and play for the result, basically. Are there things we could have done better? Yes, of course. But, I mean, for a team that just played their first game, fatigue definitely set in a little bit later. And you can tell, I mean, they're 10 games into their regular season, so they've kind of figured out, like, things ahead of time that we haven't really been able to do. But, we obviously sat back and we defended one for another. Everyone ran, and it's good to see that commitment from the boys all together.
Let's talk about that second 45 minutes there for a second. So Saprissa grows into the match. It took them quite some time. They get 2 goals at the end. What is the communication like in the second half, where maybe you guys were chasing a little bit, and to your kind of statement there, where could you guys have been better to lock that down better?
I mean, they ended up playing with almost like 2 center backs and then like a box with 2 6s, and then they threw out guys wide and just had them sit wide. So we were kind of defending with 5 in the back. It was a little tough, because we wanted to predict where they were going to go, this and that. But I mean, they've got a bunch of talented and creative players. And I think just our movement off the ball And like when we do win the ball, if we can keep it and look for spaces and gaps in behind their defense, because if we make them run as much as they made us run, then I think going into this next leg, it'd be more of a game that we can control. Because, I mean, nobody likes to run for 45, let alone 90 minutes. So if we are able to control the tempo of the game and dictate a little bit, then, yeah, I think we can come out on top.
Amar, it was a bit of a bizarre first half. Obviously, the scoreline was great, but Thierry having to make 2 substitutions within the first basically half hour, 35 minutes of play. Did that throw you off a little bit?
I mean, 100%. It didn't throw me off personally, but of course, nobody likes to see your teammates get injured in such an early time frame. But it definitely impacted the rest of the game because you got guys who, I mean, one, don't really warm up, get tossed into the game. They got to adapt to the atmosphere immediately, to the speed of play, and then also you're already missing 2 subs for the second half, where for guys that could need it, could come in and, you know, kind of change the rhythm of the game and provide kind of a breath for us in terms of running and recovering the ball and keeping the ball. So yeah, it definitely comes at a shock, but I think for the situation being the way it was, I think we adjusted well, and the guys who came in adjusted as well. So.
Amar, last one. Thierry, throughout the week leading up to the first leg, spoke about how you guys just need to bring something back to Montreal. And you're not going to be playing at your normal home, but you are bringing back 2 away goals. What's it going to take to be able to get through into the next round?
It's going to just be discipline and team spirit. I think if we go out there, yeah, we've got 2 away goals with us, and we just got to trust in one another together, be collective, and play what the coaches are telling us to play. We just got to stick to the game plan, be a unit, and play the full 90 minutes. We can't play one half. We can't play the second half. We got to play the full 90 minutes, and it'll be good knowing that, you know, we got all the supporters behind us and we're on our home turf. So yeah, it's gonna be some good confidence for us going into the game.
All right, Amar, thank you so much for taking the time, buddy, and best of luck heading into the second leg of the round of 16. And we hope to be talking to you perhaps later on in the show. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
There goes Amar Sejdic, midfielder for Montreal Impact. Of course, Montreal will be taking on Saprissa in leg number 2 of the round of 16 Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time, not at Saputo Stadium, but rather at Olympic Stadium. When we come back from the break in our final segment, we're going to talk about all MLS teams heading home. Do they have an advantage? Who has the biggest advantage? And who maybe you should be worried about? All the stats to go with it. Don't go anywhere.
Football. We could say that for us,
Pour nous, para uns, para nosotros,
on this side of the world, football is our life, the game of our lives. Football always comes first. We all come from different cultures, but football unites us.
sin pillar su saben, nos une.
One region, one voice.
Una voz, one voice, une voix.
If we listen closely, we are born ready to shout. And from there, we start to play with intensity until the last minute. Faced with obstacles, we work through them. We will improve day by day, always forward, making football better everywhere, every match. Our passion is so strong that it breaks down borders, even those that are hard to knock down, for all of us to reach our dreams. We are the region where the game comes first, bringing the game closer to our fans, and decisions are always made for the good of the sport. We raise our level every day, making football better everywhere, every match. We will put all our teams in position to win. In our region,
Nuestra región.
Notre région. Nuestra región.
everyone gets to play, connected and respected. One region,
Una región.
Une région. Una région.
together. We are the collective best of our individual cultures. We are millions of souls. We are together for the love of our game. United for football. 41 countries for one love. Concacaf. Love for our game.
Welcome back in, folks. You're stuck with us for one more segment, then we'll cut you loose until Friday, where you can catch us again 5 p.m. Eastern Time every single Monday and Friday right here in the CONCACAF studios. Available on podcast, Spotify, Anchor, soon to be coming to iTunes. Devin Kerr, what do we think of our boy Amar Sejdic?
Composed. A
Seems
little
to just
nervous.
be a little nervous,
but
enjoying the moment, it seems
I
like.
mean, anytime they're going to talk to me or you,
You got to enjoy the moment, yeah.
I thought that he seemed, his IQ was there, the intelligence of what they did right, what they did wrong, where the adjustments needed to be made, and I think it gave you an idea. They weren't comfortable 2-0 at halftime. I don't blame them being on the road, but up 2-0, you would think that you would have a little bit more confidence behind them, but notice when you asked him, he just kind of went through it like we knew we were going to get run at. It's almost like they bunkered down too early and just were going to try and weather the storm. That concerned me a little bit, but I think they have their heads together. I'm still concerned about the matchup, the way that the game ended, but I was really impressed with how he spoke.
Absolutely. Well, all 5 MLS teams get to click their CONCACAF heels and go home for this second leg in this round of 16. Some of them are playing in places that are familiar, like the Seattle Sounders. They'll head to CenturyLink, where they just hosted the MLS Cup in 2019 against Toronto FC. Some other teams are not heading home and not heading to familiar places. We'll have more on that in a little bit. But Devin Kerr, you head home. It's the first opportunity for your fans to see you, especially for a team like Seattle in the homecoming after winning MLS Cup. It's going to be a lot of momentum.
Shouldn't lose. Shouldn't. Ben Gucci and the other boys have something to say about it. 12th man. Got to show up. Got to be loud. You know, I had an opportunity to get an experience in Quest Field back in the day before they renamed it. Atlanta United, here's what I'll say about them. I understand it's not at Mercedes-Benz. Their fans come.
Yeah.
They come
show
and
out
they
every
come
single
in
time.
waves. 32-52, they're going to be hyped up. For this matchup to go somewhere, they got to get a goal early. They got to go out, set the tone, get every single person in that stadium rocking. We've seen it before. They can make it happen.
Like what Atlanta United did to Herediano last year in the second leg. The only issue is that they're playing against Club Leon, one of the favorites to win this tournament, not a Costa Rican team.
That matchup is what concerns me the most because I don't necessarily know if a tone can be set with that because of what you saw last matchup. Don't care that they're on the road. I think Saprisa's talented. They showed you they didn't miss Randall Leal that much on the left-hand side.
You don't think a tone can be set?
Not by Montreal Impact.
No?
If Montreal Impact go out and score a goal early, they're just going to go, okay, great. We can score goals too.
I think that
the road goal, you like the road goal, and that's fine, but
I do, but
that game could easily be 2-2 again.
I don't know about all that. I don't know about
because
all that.
Montreal Impact were so good defensively in the first game.
I'm not saying that. I think that the substitution patterns and the fact that they were in their first game under a new manager, and again, fitness. I mean, we always talk about fitness. It just wasn't there. And the fact that they can't even make substitutions past the 70th minute.
That's not going to change in a week.
The fact that they won't have to make 2 substitutions in the first half, hopefully that will change. The fitness
won't get changed in a week.
It'll be
Is Rudy Camacho healthy?
It'll be a little bit better.
Is Camacho healthy? They
Hasn't come out yet. Hasn't come out yet. All right.
That's an issue.
So there's been one venue that we haven't previewed yet, and because it's spicy. It's real spicy. And NYCFC playing at Yankee. Oh.
Yeah, that's not it.
Oh, no, that's not.
Little shade.
Roberto, you know they're playing at Red Bull Arena, right? Roberto Fernandez. Oh, there we go. There we go.
Good for you, buddy.
They're heading across the Hudson River. They're going to Red Bull Arena in Harrison, New Jersey. What on earth are we expecting from this?
Another 35 goals. Look, think about what Red Bull did in 2018, all the goals they put in the back of the net. It'll be the same thing. I mean, look, if you think about the venues where they could play, why wouldn't you want to play here? To be honest.
It's gorgeous. Soccer-specific stadium.
Yeah, I get it. You know, we gave them a hard time about the fact that it's not their venue. Yeah, that's frustrating too. More concerning, we still don't know what the next venue is going to be. If, and they should, if you're an NYCFC fan and you lose this game and you bow out, if San Carlos comes in and scores 3 goals, you lose 3-0, don't show up at any more matches. You boycott the rest of your matches. However, they still don't know what's going to happen after that.
No, but
round of 8.
Worry about what you got in front of you.
I'm worried about if they play in the final in Red Bull Arena.
Can you imagine NYCFC hoisting the CONCACAF Champions League trophy?
Stay with me. What if NYCFC goes through, Alianza completes this win against Tigres?
Yeah, okay.
Olympia and Saprissa win as well.
NYCFC walks to the final.
Forget it. Pigeon Man. You can't get that city wrong.
But if they put on a ridiculous performance, like they win 4 or 5-0 against San Carlos at Red Bull Arena, like
They should.
How are you? They should, but how do you not play the rest of your games there if it's available?
Nice locker rooms.
Man, listen, they got a great
know,
setup though.
everybody
It's
in
just
there's got a
it just
PlayStation.
happens to be the rival. It just happens to be the rival. All right, let's talk about these Major League Soccer teams for a second, because you and I had this conversation. We talked to a number of coaches about it. You know, a lot of people in the business are talking about just the fitness level of these teams. And the statistic that sticks out to me, 10 goals conceded by Major League Soccer teams in this first leg, 7 of them coming past the second half. The majority of those 7 coming past the 75th minute.
Yeah.
How do you, and like you said, fitness isn't going to change in a week. Anything you can do to try to address that from a tactical standpoint?
Well, you just took my answer. The tactics.
Yeah.
For Thierry Henry, for instance, the Montreal Impact, his hands were tied because he had to make the substitutions early. Amar Sejdic just gave you an idea of what that conversation was at halftime, though. You're up 2-0. You think you're cruising. But with those subs, you know that down the stretch, because it's basically still preseason, you've got an issue. If those subs hadn't had to be made, I think they're fine. I don't really have an issue with it because you can get fresh legs in, even when the tempo goes up. That's where you're not battening down the hatches with 45 minutes to go. You come out, you apply a bit of pressure, maybe even go after a third one. I mean, that's something that could have realistically happened had they not had to make these changes. You look at the same thing for the likes of Seattle and Olympia. For Seattle, there was a balance there as well. I didn't really like what I saw. Jones on the right-hand side.
Yeah.
I thought Jordan was awesome. Jordan Morris was great on the left-hand side. Ruiz Diaz needs some more opportunities.
Yeah.
They were finite.
They're
at
missing
best.
Ladero as well. Ladero, who's dealing with that tendonitis
Roldan
issue.
was up and down. Again, I think with Seattle Sounders, they're going to be just fine. I think they'll be fine. I said the Olympia matchup made me nervous. I saw no reason to be concerned overall in the grand scheme of things in that matchup to be concerned in the second leg, especially now that they're back home. And I was the one that said Olympia's going to give them problems.
Yeah.
That's going to be a tall order. Saprissa, we said that. For LAFC, you got to do something early. It was abysmal the first 90 minutes. They have to
Tell
find
me how
a
you
way.
really feel.
It was really, really bad. Like, Bob Bradley sitting in the back going, this kid's so done. I'm never talking to him again. But I can promise you this. Regardless of how he feels about the statements in the media, when his team walked off the field, he was not happy. And whether it's a personnel decision, whether it's the ability to get everybody on the same page and in a full 11, you can argue it any which way. I haven't seen that team play like that in a long time.
And
It was just bad.
And here's the other thing. While, yes, it's the first game of the competitive season, you knew who you were playing against. You knew your opponent. There's film on them. It's not like it was another MLS team who you hadn't really seen, their new system, new players, whatever. And they didn't look ready. And I think that was probably the most concerning part.
Yeah, and you know what? I gave some credit on the back line to the center backs from Leon.
Yeah.
And rightfully so. They did have some moments, right? I mean, LAFC had some moments where they did get into the final third, and what happened there was where it started to drift away a little bit. You got Rossi and Rodriguez. You got Vela and you got Rossi. At no point in time was it all three, and when they turned and things broke down, there was no one behind them as well. So that's where you expected the likes of Marth Anthony Kaye to stretch the game a little bit. You know, chase one of those runs where that long ball gets knocked down into the corner. Where's the trailing run to the top of the 18? Latif Blessing. Thought he did good tracking back defensively. Offensively, he was almost null and void. Not there whatsoever. The outside backs, we did not see as much from Tristan Blackman. I was a bit surprised at that. He was pretty much the only one that attacked. They were calculated in that area.
Yeah.
But I still wonder, you spend the entire preseason with Jordan Harvey playing at center back. I've been a big critic of his in the past. Going into the Open Cup last year, I said to Bob Bradley, I thought maybe that was the weak link. By no means am I tuning my own horn, but in the San Jose game, he did get beat. He got turned around. That, you know, I was on the call for that and thought maybe that was questionable coming in. But seeing what I saw and knowing what went on and what I saw in preseason, I don't know why you make the switch. I'm sure there's a justifiable reason to it. But when nothing comes out, it makes me go, huh? You cock your head a little bit and just, you wonder, why do you change the center backs? Why does Mark Anthony Kaye come in? Again, massive amount of talent. But if I'm coming back from injury, an injury that's taken him a long time to come back from, that was what, October, I believe?
Yep.
Why just throw him into a Champions League game where he hasn't even played 45 minutes and you put him in the starting 11?
Well, while MLS teams might have conceded the most amount of goals in the past 3 years in the first leg of the round of 16, the good news is, combined in the last two competitions in the round of 16, second leg, there it is, 7-1-0 in the 18 and 19 competitions. This is the way it should be, though. You get your first game underneath your belt, you work out some of the kinks, and then you're heading back home. The issue for me, it seems like, is that these Central American teams, especially with the implementation of CONCACAF League, they're getting there. I'm not saying that you can see that tangible growth within 2 years. But at the same time, I don't know if we've seen these teams give MLS sides fits like we did in the first leg, like they did especially late on in the game.
There's a combination of things. So let's start with this. First and foremost, look at that number right there on the bottom of your screen. Why is it padded that way? Because they're not playing Liga MX teams. I'll give you a heads up right now. That's why it's so big. On the second side of things, so that's obviously going to change come the round of 8, if and when other teams get through in MLS.
We might be able to take a 1 next to that after LAFC.
Pad that off a little bit, depending on the LAFC loan game. The other one is, it's a big difference between playing at home and playing domestically and going into these crazy venues than getting on a plane, having to deal with multiple fixtures, traveling around a little bit. So CONCACAF League, like Tyler was just talking about, he alluded to that, and that gives you the experience. So you're not walking into Champions League going, wow, this is kind of a whole new world, I'm taken back. You've had that experience already. Yeah, the level's a bit different, but Saprissa Motagua, they know exactly what I'm talking about. They played each other in the final. You get an opportunity to experience all these different venues, and the travel is there, and the experience, and the play, and all of it starts to go. So what do you get out of that? You get confidence. And you get confidence where even a team like Saprissa, who goes down 2-0 right away, second half, look like world beaters.
Yep.
That team looked obnoxiously good in the second half. And that's where the confidence starts to carry over. So you walk into the next one, you go, this is no problem. Get out of my way. I'm looking for the round of 8.
Second leg for these MLS teams has been kind, especially defensively. Only 5 goals allowed in the second legs for Major League Soccer sides combined, again, 2018 and 2019. And we're only using those two because it is the modern format that we're used to, starting in the round of 16 and then moving forward. Still, though, is it concerning that these Central American sides, it was 10 goals and 7 of them coming in the second half? We talked about the fitness. Right now, all of these teams are heading home. And that's a good thing. LAFC, I think we can agree, is in the most amount of trouble right now.
You're so kind.
I'm so kind.
You're putting it politely.
Give me one more team. I mean, you talk about Montreal and Saprissa, but is there anybody from a defensive standpoint that really you saw it and you were sort of like, this doesn't look good, and they could easily get picked off?
Well, it's interesting because defensively, though I came on Montreal and Saprissa, I actually thought the left side was pretty good for Montreal. I thought the left side was. Tyler talked about Kyoto over there. Those boys handled their business. The middle of the field, Sejdic talked about. He's like, look, nobody wants to run for 90 minutes, let alone 45, and just chase. That's exactly what happened in the second half. Outside of that, NYCFC should not lose. Let me rephrase that. Do not lose. You cannot lose this game. You can lose 2-0 and be just fine. Don't lose any worse than that. LAFC was concerning for me defensively. I talked about the movement on the back. Left back was troublesome. You know who you are. I'm being nice. I'm not calling anybody out right now. The middle of the field, that was concerning. And a team that prides itself to build out of the back and hold the ball and go quickly in transition, they didn't give themselves any of the opportunities because on their transitional defending, when they did push that high line I talked about with Vela getting down in the corner, the group didn't come together with him. So there's a 30, 40-yard gap. And then the midfielders. And then there's a 10-yard, 15-yard gap. And then the defenders. And everybody's kind of looking around going, who's got who? Who's got what? Who's challenging where? Look at the first goal by Leon. When Tristan Blackman goes to ground, I still say, Jakovic steps over.
Yeah.
Everybody just slides.
That's
a simple progression.
It was premature.
That's a simple progression for everyone. If you just stand, not only is he given the opportunity to get a shot off, you've got the support just right next to him. So he has 2 options. If you step over, you close both down. Could he put it in the back of the net still? Absolutely. You can do anything you want. Kenneth Vermeer is a good goalkeeper. Trust him. Don't leave him out to dry. And that's exactly what happened. Now, did he cheat? Absolutely. But defensively, and that was their Achilles heel last year. Mm-hmm. Defensively, they have to be much better because I promise you, they'll lose much worse this match.
And it's the depth. And it's that we talked about. And that depth, I think, hurt them, especially in MLS Cup when they ended up falling to Seattle in the conference final.
Here's the other question is, what happens with Atlanta United if Miles Robinson doesn't make it back quick? That's another concern for me as well. Because we were talking about it. We didn't get too deep into it, but watching that match, if I'm Frank de Boer, I would go, I'm going back to the 3. That's what I want to do.
Even if you don't have Miles?
The problem is he doesn't have that luxury because Miles Robinson is the only player on that team right now that you can definitively say plays the lone center back role in the middle of the defensive unit, and they're just fine. You cannot put anybody else in there and be comfortable. So that's why you have to stay with 4.
Yeah. And
you could see they were off. They were off. Guys from NYCFC had the opportunity to pick their brain a little bit. They wrote about it online as well. It's all over preseason blogs, so it's nothing crazy. they talked about how Ronnie Dyla wanted to play a 4-4-2. And he said, he brought his style in, played 4-4-2, wasn't working. Went back to a 4-3-3. How do you like me now? Frank de Boer doesn't have that luxury. So now what?
It's all about the pieces that you have. And we're being told that out of the 6 players that were unavailable to them last leg, that only one is going to be available, and that's Jake Mulroney. So we'll see exactly what Atlanta United is going to be able to muster up. But again, as Devin said, I mean, it doesn't matter whether Atlanta is playing at Fifth Third Bank, whether they're playing at Mercedes-Benz, or whether they're playing at a Sunday League field. They're going to show up and they're going to show out, and they just do an excellent job of supporting their club. Folks, remember, every single game available on the Fox Sports family of networks. Leg number 2, round of 16. We're cutting the field in half. NYCFC fans, make sure that you know early kickoff, 6 o'clock Eastern time on Wednesday night, if I'm not mistaken, right? Don't lose.
Don't lose.
Lose by 1, lose by 2. Don't go any
lose.
further than that. Just don't do it, especially in front of Red Bull Arena. Are we expecting a lot of Red Bull fans at this game?
Oh, yeah.
Trolling them.
Oh, I'm going
Yeah.
if I'm a Red Bull fan. Absolutely. Beers are on you, boys. I'm happy to watch you guys
This
lose.
spiteful guy right
100%.
Remember, 5 o'clock Eastern time every single Monday and Friday right here in the CONCACAF studios. All CONCACAF digital platforms, podcast, Spotify, Anchor, TUDN, Spanish in the United States. Folks, have a great rest of the week. Enjoy every single fixture, and we will talk to you on Friday. Take it easy.